A 1099 is a tax form that you need to file with your taxes and also send to your vendors and consultants who you paid a certain amount of money to in the previous year. The IRS laws will tell you what the amount threshold is to which you have to send a 1099. For example, maybe you have to send a 1099 to any vendor or consultant to which you paid at least $600 or more during the previous year. With just a few things in place, QuickBooks can keep track of this for you. Here's what has to be in place to file and send your 1099s. Let's use our tasting parties as an example. Remember, I use the company Metalworks Presses to do all of our tasting parties. If I paid that consultant or office enough over the course of last year, then I need to send them a 1099. The first thing that needs to happen is that particular vendor needs to be marked as eligible to receive a 1099. I'll click Vendors to get into the Vendor Center. Then I'll double-click on Metalworks Presses. Change to the Tax Settings tab. Make sure there's a checkbox next to Vendor Eligible for 1099. In the field above it, you can put in their vendor tax ID. This is either going to be their federal tax ID or a social security number if it's just a single consultant. It's also important to note that by filling in this vendor tax ID field, the next time you open up QuickBooks, you'll be prompted to enter in a more complex password. You'll need to get this tax ID or social security information from the vendor. I'll click OK to get out of this box. Once that's in place, the next thing that has to happen is that you need to be sure that you filled out all of their bills. I'll close out of this and click Enter Bills. I'll click Find on the top left-hand side, and we'll choose a bill from Metalworks. Here I can see a bill, and I can see that it's from the previous year. I can also see that it's for a large sum of money. It's not enough just to have this bill in place, though. I need to look and double-check and make sure it's been marked as paid. Remember, the 1099s are to whoever we sent money to, so we also have to pay that bill in QuickBooks, or at least tell QuickBooks that we've sent the vendor that much money over the course of the previous year. So I've marked them as eligible to get a 1099, I entered the bill, and I paid it. Now we can go into Preferences and use the wizard. Let's click Edit from the top of the screen and choose Preferences. All the way down at the bottom of the screen, click Tax 1099. From here, change to the Company Preferences tab. Make sure you have the Yes radio button selected on the Do You File 1099 MISC forms. When you're ready to run the wizard, select Click Here under the If you're ready to prepare your 1099s. This is going to bring up the 1099 wizard. Click the blue Get Started button on the bottom right-hand side. The first thing we need to do is select our 1099 vendors. Remember, we already went through and told QuickBooks that Metalworks is indeed eligible for a 1099, so that's why they're already selected here. I'll click Continue, and here's where I can verify their information. I'll need to put in their address, but for now, I can click Continue. Here's where we can map out the various payment accounts. QuickBooks already knows that over the course of the previous year, I've used Metalworks to send them more than $600 worth of money, which is the threshold. If you don't know what those thresholds are, or if you're getting this message at the bottom that says your settings do not match the current IRS thresholds, you can click Show IRS 1099 MISC Filing Thresholds. It's going to bring up the dollar amounts so that you can see the right amount of money that you have to send to those vendors in order to file a 1099. To get rid of this message, you can click Reset to IRS Thresholds. Here I can see in box 7, Non-Employee Compensation, the threshold is $600. I'll click Cancel to get out of this. But here's where we apply that money to a certain 1099 box. In the Apply Payments box, if it's not already selected, I could figure out which one we want. I could also click Report All Payments in box 7 on the left-hand side, and it will automatically select everything that you see here. You may have more accounts that aren't showing up in this list. In fact, in the drop-down list above it, it says Show 1099 Accounts, but I can choose to show all my accounts. Here's where you can see everything that's in your chart of accounts. Any account that you know matches one of those thresholds, you can select it in the view and match it to a certain box. You could have changed many different accounts to track all of your different vendors to see where that money was going. I'll click Continue. Here's where you can view any payments or exclusions based on IRS laws. I'll click Continue again. And now you're ready to see what 1099 forms are going to be created. Here's our vendor. In Box 7 field, because over the course of last year for all of their tasting parties, I've compensated this company $1,600, so now I'm at the end of the wizard. If I click the blue Continue button, I'll move on to actually filing the entry, which I'm not going to do because this is a demo. So for now, I'll click Save and Close. I can come back to this at any time by choosing Vendors, Print e-file 1099s, and going back to the 1099 wizard. As long as you've entered all of your bills and you're paying your vendors, filing your taxes for 1099s is easy.